Thank you. All right, and fellow members, welcome to Leadership Speak, an advanced Toastmasters club for leadership development. We are one of the top 5 clubs globally. This is your host and host, Sergeant at Arms, Jennifer Helen Ghosh, who joined Toastmasters way back in 2007 as a learner and continues to be a lifelong learner. I feel like a sponge that wants to absorb as much as possible. As your Sergeant at Arms today, I will be reading out the club mission. We provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. The leadership statement is, Leadership Speak is the premier club for experienced Toastmasters to become better self-directed leaders. We are an advanced club focused primarily on leadership development in everything we do. Kindly note, our timer, Hannah, has a virtual hand raised, so we can immediately identify who is keeping time or keeping track of time today. And I'm sure you have all been waiting for this moment. Our Toastmaster of the day, who will lead our meeting, is Clemence Kambewu. Clemence Kambewu is a professional geophysicist and entrepreneur living in Botswana. He is the current president of Gaborone Toastmasters Club. My apologies for the mistake in pronunciation. In Botswana, his long-term goal is to be a professional keynote and public speaker. In the past Toastmasters year, Clemence reached the Division O, District 74 Speech Contest Finals and the semi-finals of District 74 Evaluation Contest. He is a passionate leader and wants to inspire and empower people to live their highest vision for the benefit of humanity. Clemence runs a social welfare program in his hometown in Zimbabwe, which helps underprivileged children with school shoes. What a wonderful gesture. With some reaction and applause, please help me welcome our Toastmaster of the day, Clemence, to the virtual platform. The stage is yours, Clemence.
Thank you very much, Jennifer, for introducing me. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this Leadership Speak meeting today. Our theme is a leadership idea or skill that will take your leadership skills to the next level if you adopt it. The theme is relational leadership. Relational leadership is being a leader by creating positive relations with your team. Relations are at the heart of great leaders. Since leadership is defined as getting results through other people, it means people are at the heart of leadership. Leadership is indeed a people business. The Element Trust Barometer Survey says distrust is at an all-time high. People no longer trust their governments or the media. This makes your team's relationship with you, the leader, very important because they would rather trust you than the government or what they hear from the media. And effective leader has the ability to build and sustain relationships with others. Research has shown that relationship building skills is among the top leadership competencies that leaders need. The relational strength of your team depends on connections to accomplish the mission or goals. Without solid relationships, a leader can have a difficult time bringing a team together and getting tasks done or accomplished. A leader with strong relationship skills is better able to influence and inspire others. Leaders who have mastered the art of relational leadership show kindness, empathy, and are able to build a strong rapport with all team members. So, having a personality of caring about people is important. You can't be a good leader unless you generally like people. The better your relationships with people, the more valuable you will be as a leader. As you navigate the daily whirlwind of your conversations, agendas, and goals, ask yourself this: how am I authentically connecting with those around me? Do you need to improve as a leader? Start with building and sustaining relationships. Here at Leadership Speak, we practice relational leadership. Members are encouraged to connect, network, and collaborate at both personal and team level. Connection and networking and collaboration build relationships. I would like to urge you today to sit back, relax, and enjoy the learnings of today. I'm going to ask Jennifer to raise a toast for us. Sorry, Hannah Schmidt to raise a toast for us. Thank you.
Sorry, just a moment. I open my toast with a quote from John Maxwell. Relational skills are the most important abilities in leadership. A relational leader is a person who focuses on building trust and collaboration. He or she creates an environment that encourages people to feel safe within the organization. In Toastmasters, and especially in Leadership Speak, this is creating an exceptional and extraordinary experience of belonging. With empathy, trust, respect, these leaders motivate us to take up the journey and encourage us to cross our comfort zone and let us enter into the zone of leadership. When evaluating our speeches, these leaders inspire us, bringing the best out in us, meaning that our words, our vocal variety, and our body language all complement our speech. Relational leaders, also known as people-oriented leaders, are authentic. They make us feel valued and encourage good teamwork. I think of Nelson Mandela as such a leader. He was in prison for 37 years. Yet, when he was released, he focused his actions on helping the people he served. And at Leadership Speak, new members are grouped into mentoring circles. Here, a strong sense of inclusion and connection is built. Members are empowered to install personal growth and, in turn, become self-directed leaders themselves. I end with another quote from John Maxwell. Time spent with the potential, and I add relational leader, is an investment. Toastmasters, please unmute yourself, raise your glasses, and join me in saluting Leadership Speak and the exemplary relational leaders.
Relational leaders.
Leadership Speak
Here's
and
to
exemplary
Leadership Speak
leadership,
Speak and
and
relational.
exemplary leadership principles.
Over to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Hannah. Relational leaders build zones of trust and safety, and they also bring inclusion into their team. I have someone who is helping me to manage this meeting also, and that is the timer, and it's Hannah. Please introduce your role.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster. Again, my name is Hannah Schmidt. I'm your timer. And I shall be timing all the speeches according to the agenda. And these are my lights. Can everybody see them? Are they visible to everybody? Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you very much, Hannah. And I urge all the role players to keep to the time as much as possible. Our opening speech is an educational by Leya Musunga. Leya Musunga is being evaluated by Raam. May I please call upon Raam to give the speech objectives.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests. We have an education session with every session at Leadership Speak, and they get 20 minutes of speaking on an educational subject. And today, Leya Musunga is doing Strategic Relationships, Level 3, speech number 5, connect with storytelling. And it's all about establishing a story. Maybe it's about her lifestyle or some story that conveys a story that gives us some meaning at the end. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Raam, for the speech objectives. Leya Musunga loves storytelling, and she's interested in leadership. She's going to speak about how we can use relational leadership skills to grow leadership. Leya Musunga's speech title is Why Me? Why me? Why me, Leya Musunga?
Mr. Toastmaster, I think on the agenda it says healthy connections.
Oh, okay. It's the speech title change. The speech title is Healthy Connections. Leya Musunga, Healthy Connections, Leya Musunga.
Imagine the best leader or boss you have ever had. Do you have that person in your mind? I'm sure if I was to ask you, some of these things would be the responses of why you thought that person was a good leader. They probably cared for you and showed that they valued your contribution, and also may have supported the development of your skills and your goals. Good day, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Today, I'm going to share a little bit about being a relational leader. What is a relational leader? A relational leader is someone who sees human connections as the invisible glue that holds teams and organizations together. But before I get to that, I just want to share with you a story about some leadership aspect I experienced a while back. A few years ago, I was working in an organization, and after 2 years, the CEO of the organization was changed. It was very clear in our first meeting that this new CEO operated on an authoritative style of leadership. They barely wanted any contribution from the people in the meeting. And 2 months down the line, when somebody had made a mistake, I was shocked to hear the kind of language that the new CEO was using towards the employee. I must say, they were dropping a couple of F-bombs. I just prayed that that kind of language wouldn't be used towards me. The way our new CEO operated was very much in contrast to our previous CEO. He was very quiet and very introspective. He barely raised his voice. So I'd become so used to a very quiet and calm environment. But the new CEO wanted to change things around. But as she was doing this, she never bothered to consult any of the managers or the staff involved. So there were a lot of times when heads would butt together. Our organization operated on ensuring that every once in a while, we submitted tenders for us to be able to get work. And there was a big tender that was coming up that provided about 70% of the revenue of the organization. Instead of our organization focusing on this particular tender, my boss decided they wanted to try and get a different type of business, and therefore told every single person in the team to focus on ensuring that we were all working on that. And by the time we realized, time had gone by, and we were left with a very short amount of time for us to work on the major tender. Eventually, my boss saw the light of day. Something that required at least 6 to 8 weeks worth of work, we were told to make sure it was done within a week. I must say, there were a lot of sleepless nights. People were burning the oil at the office. Eventually, we were able to do the work and ensured that the tender was submitted by 10 a.m. on the date of submission. We were all elated that at least we had managed to do something. Only to find out 3 days later that we got the response that an important document that should have been included in the submission was not available. I must say, heads were rolling. Our CEO did not want to hear any response from anyone. And our compliance manager, whose responsibility it was to ensure that everything was in the documents to be submitted, got the brunt of the castigation. Eventually, it was discovered that because everything was done at such a fast pace, the document, yes, indeed, wasn't there. And therefore, we lost technically 70% of the revenue. And due to everything else that had happened over the past couple of months, it wasn't with surprise that within that week, 2 of the ExCo members actually resigned. They felt that they were not working in a very good working condition. I'm sure my story seems very extreme. You may have experienced maybe a slightly similar example of working in a very difficult environment. But as we are trying to grow as leaders, there are many ways that we can try and see how we can improve as leaders. And in the next couple of minutes, I'm just going to share with you how we can use relational style of leadership to help us to grow further in our leadership journey. So I'm just going to share a couple of slides as I continue to talk a little bit more about how relational leadership can be used to help us grow. So there are 5 components of a relational leader. And the first one being inclusion. And in using this type of leadership, the leader involves everyone and everyone's ideas are valid. This type of leadership is more of a democratic style of leadership style. They don't impose their own values and views on everyone, but they try to make sure that they foster a sense of belonging among the team members by creating an atmosphere that values diversity. The second component of a relational leader is that of empowerment. Empowering others is an important quality when it comes to leadership success. Trusting team members to work independently and ask for help when is needed is an important aspect of being a leader. So this type of person ensures that they delegate in a way that shows confidence in the team members. The third component of a relational leader is that of purpose. Purposefulness in relational leadership is defined as having an individual commitment to a goal or activity while setting a common ground for others. They make sure that they align their leadership approach with their personal sense of purpose. Then the fifth component of a relational leader is that of ethical behavior. Strong relationships stand on a foundation of trust. I'm sure you would all agree with that. Trust only flourishes in an environment, in a fair environment. And even in Toastmasters, we can think of our core values, that of integrity, respect, service, and excellence. Those are some of the values that one can incorporate to ensure that they operate in an ethical behavior. Then the fifth component is that of process orientation. A team leader needs to encourage collaboration and reflect throughout the process. They need to make sure that they pay attention to the process, that outcome makes them more flexible. I'm now just going to share 3 tips that one can use to incorporate these leadership skills. 1, lead by example. I'm a big believer, of course, in leading by example. But obviously, as a leader, this means embodying the leadership qualities that I just shared, that of inclusivity, empowerment, purpose, ethics, and process. This also means developing communication skills necessary to talk to others through your process. Then the second that you can use is that of getting, sorry, my apologies. Is that of getting to know your team members. Different members need different things from their leader. So by spending time to get to know your members, you'll be able to then tailor the needs that you'll find for your team members to ensure that you're able to help them professionally in whatever support that you need to give them. Then the third one would be to develop a mentoring program. I'm sure we'll all agree that mentoring is powerful. It enables deep knowledge transfer and fast tracks mentees' development. And it's good that in our club, we have a very strong mentoring program. So these are just some of the tips that one can employ as they want to work their relational leadership skills. A few months ago, I was voted to be the division director of my division O in District 74, where I'm based. And when I took on this role, I decided that I wanted to be a different type of leader. I didn't want to be the type of leader of what I had seen in the past. So I employed some of these techniques with my new team. I'm sure if you're not familiar with Toastmasters, when you step into a leadership role, you're normally working with strangers. So you have to try and find how can strangers be able to work together with the common goal. Toastmasters normally has the general goal that we're supposed to be striving for, which is to create new clubs and to ensure that all our clubs are successful, existing ones. So one of the first things I did is to make sure that I got to know my new leaders. That is the area directors and the other team leaders on the team. That encompasses my PR manager and my TLI coordinator. So I made sure that I had virtual coffee with each single one of them, just to try and understand a little bit about where they were coming from and what helped as we move along this journey. And even in terms of setting goals, we sat down together in our first meeting, and besides the district goals that we have to achieve, we also came up with the goals that we would want to achieve together as a division, how we would want to succeed. We wanted to make sure that we were able to meet our goals before the stated deadline, so we wouldn't be rushing at the last minute. And it was really interesting to hear all the various ideas that were being put through as we worked together to come up with a goal to help us succeed together as a division. And I always say, I love the idea of leading by example. And it's something that I even saw happening in this club, where you challenge people to at least complete 3 or 4 or 5 pathway levels. So I put that challenge also to my area, to my division council, to say, maybe we can also try and have our own goals of completing at least 3 levels. As leading by example would be, I'm on my path of completing my first level. So I'm happy about that. And like I said, one of the powerful tools is mentoring. And one of our goals is actually to set up a mentoring strategy for our division to ensure that every single member, especially the new ones, that they are in contact with the mentor to help them move along their way, along their journey. That is my leadership story. What about you? We are all leaders in this room, or we are trying to work on our leadership journey. There may be some aspect of your journey that you want to work on. Maybe being a relational leader is something that can help you to get you closer to the goal that you want to achieve. At the end of your leadership journey, I'm sure you'd want to have a positive impact on the people that you're leading. You wouldn't want them to end up with the story maybe that I shared at the beginning. I'm sure you'd want to have a much better legacy that you leave behind. So as you continue on your leadership journey, I hope indeed you will move along and make healthy connections with the people that you lead. Over to you, Mr. Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you, Leya. And Leya tells us to be intentional when we create healthy connections, including demonstrating as well that we are indeed leaders who want to create healthy connections. And she has also led by example as a division or director. And she has also seen this as a practice that we do here at Leadership Speak. Thank you, Leya, for encouraging us to create healthy connections. Our next speaker is Raam Lakhanpal, and Raam is being evaluated by Venkat.
Clemence, your next speaker is Asif, according to the agenda.
Sorry. Oh, yeah.
Please read the agenda.
Yes, our next speaker is Mohmad Saiyed. Mohmad Saiyed is being evaluated by Mineral Ghosh. I would like to invite Mineral to please give us Asif's project objectives.
Thank you, Clemence. Good day, everyone, fellow Toastmaster and dear guest. Today, our target speaker, Toastmaster Asif, will delivering speech from Innovative Planning Icebreaker Speech. The objective of the speech, the purpose of the project is the member to learn, introduce himself to the club and learn the basic structure of the public speaking. Title of the speech, Embracing Leadership, Forging a Path of Inspirations. So all the best to our target speaker, Asif. Back to you, Clemence.
Thank you, Mineral. Through the icebreaker speech, President Asif wants to reaffirm his commitment to foster an environment of continuous growth and camaraderie at Leadership Speak. In this speech, Asif will be sharing his journey of embracing leadership and how it has enabled him to forge a path of inspiration. The title of his speech is Embracing Leadership, Forging a Path of Inspiration. Mohmad Saiyed, Embracing Leadership, Forging a Path of Inspiration. Embracing Leadership, Forging a Path of Inspiration. Mohmad Saiyed.
Dear fellow leaders, members, and guests, when I want to reflect back on my leadership journey, in Toastmasters especially, there are two things which comes into my mind. One is about embracing leadership. And what do I mean by embracing leadership? You see, being president of the club, does it really make a difference between all of the members as well? Because in Toastmasters, leadership is not about title. It's about taking ownership, responsibility. It's about guiding, supporting, and inspiring members to help them realize their full potential. It's about, fostering an environment where everyone can thrive and succeed, irrespective of differences of opinion, where we, celebrate diversity. It's easier said than done, especially in such a big club, a complex club where you are members from more than 16 countries, coming from different backgrounds. And most importantly, with varied experience. So it's so important that the times are changing so fast that a few years back when I joined Toastmasters, I could easily understand that while I was really getting benefited out of this Toastmasters as a platform, I could see that there were many challenges that the current practices of leadership in Toastmasters needed to be looked upon, or for revision, changes, how do we collaborate in a fast changing world. And when I stumbled upon this esteemed club that is Leadership Speak, it really gave me hope. And as I joined as a member and traversed through the path, being a member, then getting into the education committee, and from education committee to the president, it gave me a sense of how much huge responsibility that I would be having to bear so that I can really help the club to progress to a greater height. Most importantly, what is so distinct about Leadership Speak? We have a very towering personality, Raam, who has been my mentor and who I looked upon to understand all those nuances of what was his dream vision of establishing such a club. And believe me, for almost 6 to 7 months, every day 2 hours dedicated to this club. It took me enormous time to understand and conceptualize that vision which he was having. And then what I did, that's my expertise. I'm an expert in processes and structuring. And that's what I brought in. I brought in structures to that vision. I brought in processes to that vision and made it easily digestible for members to understand that vision and operationalize it. And that's what, you see, Toastmasters for me is a place where you come and experiment and practice. And when you practice and when you experiment, what will happen? There will be some mistakes, but most important is how quickly you can recover from those mistakes. Now, being a leadership coach and a trainer from John Maxwell Academy in leadership, I bring in all those my experiences, the academic experience and my corporate experience, where in the corporate, I've been a risk management expert, where I look at the risk involved in running an organization and how do we implement controls. So having this 30 years experience, John Maxwell experience, and the guidance from my mentor, I really have embarked upon to help our members of the club to forge a path of growth so that we can push boundaries, we can create something new, and together we grow. Together we take all those initiatives and overcome challenges. And in a way, we come together despite of having diverse thought processes. We merge, we converge together as in a unified way of stepping forward towards climbing the greater challenges so that we can progress in personal and professional life, in leadership, as well as public speaking journey. Now, somebody during the introduction did remark, yes, so I have my wife as well who has joined Leadership Speak. And one reason was to inspire her to understand, how at an advanced club would function. And that skills she takes back again to her own Toastmasters club as well. So this is my nutshell as my public speaking and leadership journey, which I wanted to share with you. And I want to assure you that I will do all that is possible to help you and be that bridging stone, bridge to enable you and help you to grow up in your leadership and public speaking journey. Back to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, President Asif. Asif encourages us to embrace the dream and vision of Leadership Speak and to use our experiences as leaders to push the boundaries and come together as a team to grow Leadership Speak. We move on to our third speaker. Our third speaker is Raam, Lakhanpal, and Raam is being evaluated by Nthati. Please welcome to the stage Nthati to give us the speech objectives.
Thank you, Clemence. Today, Raam Lakhanpal is attempting his level 4, project 1, leading your team. The purpose of this project is for the member to lead a small team to the completion of project. The purpose of this speech is for the member to share some aspect of his or her experience leading a team. All the best, Raam Lakhanpal. Back to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you, Venkat. Raam has played ice hockey at the junior level, then progressing to the upper echelon of the industrial league. He is known as the fastest skater in the league by far. In addition, he is a former dean of a private college specializing in business. He's going to speak about the time when he was asked to bring about awareness of the bountiful resources Canada has in the eyes of thousands attending the 2010 Winter Olympics, when Canada was the host country. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Raam. His speech title is Showcasing Canada. Showcasing Canada. Showcasing Canada. Raam Lakhanpal.
Mr. Toastmaster, I was overwhelmed. And you may wonder why am I overwhelmed? In 2010, Canada was very good in winter sports, and therefore they were chosen to host a conference, Olympic, big time in competitive sports in ice and hockey, just name it, everything was there. It was held in Vancouver, British Columbia, in fact, in the northern portion. And second thing that I was overwhelmed about is that I was given the opportunity to work with a team of 12, a team in which we will gather all the logistics, all the different things that would be necessary for me to do my job in a most proficient manner. I started with about 12 individuals, and they were superb. We start from the Atlantic, where to get food that will be remembered by those that are attending. We start with the Atlantic provinces, salmon, pink salmon, and cod, as well as McCain fries, potatoes in PEI. Then we move on to where do I get the other things, for instance, maple syrup for your pancakes. And entertainer, Celine Dion, world-renowned international singer, wonderful. Those were in place. Moving on to the province where we live, which is Ontario. And what is it renowned for? Justin Bieber, another entertainer, and a rapper as well. And what do we get from this province? And this is where Mariana lives, honeymoon city of Niagara Falls. Wonderful wine. Wine is divine, they say. It's really, really superb wine, renowned worldwide. Now we move on to the other province, the other Manitoba. Let's get water from there because we want to involve all the different all the different provinces to put in so they would have a piece of the action of the pie. From there, water. Why water? Because in Manitoba, there are 110 lakes. I don't mean little rivers, big lakes. They could supply the water. Moving on to Saskatchewan, pulses. 40% to 45% of the pulses worldwide is supplied by Saskatchewan. Moving on to Alberta. Alberta has a lot of beef, so we need to supply the beef for those that are going to be attending. And then we move on to British Columbia. Michael Bublé, he is a superb singer, another international figure that will be in there singing while the competition is on. And as well, we have salmon of a different type. This is sockeye salmon, red, very tasty. And also the other fish that is famous for French fries will be halibut. And that was amazing to put together in these provinces. But we may need more potatoes, so we go to Yukon Territory. Yellow gold, it's called. Potatoes of the high caliber. And these were some of the good things that we could gather. My team met every week, 1 year ahead, in preparation for this big Olympics game. We wanted to showcase this great country. Population only about 39 million, and yet lots of empty land. But its richness is amazing. There's so much to do and so much to go places. And it will take you about 5 to 6 hours to fly from one coast to the other coast. And they were superb. One thing that I paid much attention to was hockey, because I played hockey. And Canada was leading the way going into the finals. And eventually, Canada got the gold in ice hockey competition, aside from all the others that were many others, skiing, etc. But that was the main. Canada is superb in ice hockey. Not only once, but many Olympic gold medals have been won by Canada. And I'd like to show my gratitude to my team who put together everything. And there were little medals that we were given as those that were part of putting this thing together, in putting the programs together. And I was happy to have been part of this great organization. And wonderful it was that we were successful in showcasing Canada to the world. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner were served with Canadian flavor, all this food from across the country, and everything that mattered to Canada, so that when the athletes went back, when the tourists went back, they will remember Canada. Whoa, the maple syrup, oh, the salmon, the different salmon, all the different types of things that they consumed and watched, and the games. With that, Mr. Toastmaster, back to you.
Wow, what a big project it was. And I think without the relational leadership skills that we had, we wouldn't be able to put together such a big team and all the resources that was required to showcase that event. Thank you, Raam. We now quickly move on to our next speaker. Our next speaker is Sandra Falk. Sandra is being evaluated by Sabnam Saiyed. Sabnam Saiyed, you may give us the project objectives.
President, fellow Toastmasters of the day, good afternoon. Sandra will be delivering from Presentation Mastery Level 3 Project 2. The title of her speech is Honoring Others Also Honors Ourselves. It is a 3 to 4 minute speech, and the purpose of this project is for the member to practice delivering social speeches in front of club members. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Sabnam. Sandra is a compassionate queen of straight talk who has learned very clearly over the decades that when we raise others, we raise ourselves up as well. Sandra's speech title is Honoring Others, also honors ourselves. Help me welcome Coach Sandra, distinguished Toastmaster, as she comes to the stage to share the speech on honoring one another. Sandra Valks, honoring others honors ourselves. Honoring others honors ourselves. Sandra Valks.
Thank you, everyone. It's a delight to be here at this meeting where we are honoring our own. Because honoring others always honors ourselves. It's the loop that makes the difference. Fellow Toastmasters, it was really my honor and my delight to recognize our own leadership starlet today. All of us have been cheering and supporting Nikita Winkler, while Nikita has been the one with the skin in the game. Hours and hours and more hours of diligent preparation, agonizing over her speech, the weight of the yards and yards and yards of that material that she started out with, birthing the idea and shouldering all the loving critique that was leveled at her from us, her fans. As we know, the hour came to board that flight to the Bahamas and to those world-speaking semifinals. She was excited. And I'm sure she was there with bated breath, handing over that ticket at the airport. I'm getting ready. Turned away at the airport on the way to the competition that she has spent so many hours. Personally, I can't imagine that crushing moment of realization, of turning back, of finding the words and the courage and the understanding to push through. Yes, to face the message that she would have to send to us, her fans, at Leadership Speak. And still remain strong and brilliant, like the star she is. Courage. This is what we have seen as courage. Now, Paramit wrote, quote, obstacles can break a person. However, obstacles make the champions, and champions know how to adjust to different situations. He continued, you are a true champion, Nikita, and you have done your very best to reach this level. Leave whatever has happened behind about the visa. Don't worry about it. Look forward, focus on the target. Boost your energy and stand up like a champion. We all share our positive energy with you. Now, Bindu, you see, this isn't only from me. This is from the fans. Bindu followed up with, quote, Nikita, you've shown that the dream of reaching that exalted position doesn't require decades of Toastmaster experience to back you up. Instead, it requires the vision, the passion, and the sheer dedicated hard work can do that. You've shown that creativity and artistry have their own place in delivering a soul-felt message. In other words, you are our inspiration. You have made us proud. You have made us believe that the world can be conquered with dedication and hard work. Come back stronger even next year. And finally, this so touched me. Nikita Winkler came back after the competition, not with tears in her hand. She came back to us with this. Not everyone wants to win. Some just want to grow. I joined Toastmasters to work on my weakness as a communicator, and I became a storyteller, and indeed she did. I joined the World Championship to fast track my learning, and I discovered that at my worst, I made it to the top 28 out of thousands of contestants. Wow, celebration. My message to you today, if you're not good at something, there's no better place to start growing from. Let your goal be growth in whatever it is that you are undertaking. You'll never feel like a fool failing, because in the end, you will discover that there is nothing like failure, because at every step of the way, you are growing. You can only be better from when you started. Nikita, from all of us here at Leadership Speak, we thank you from the bottom of our heart for the journey that you shared so generously with us. We love you and we honor you. Our star, Toastmaster.
Honoring others honors ourselves, and I believe this is a skill that a tip that we can also use to build our strong relationship with our teams. We now move on to our next speaker, Carine Baptiste. Carine is being evaluated by Ashwin Arundika. Ashwin, please give us the speech objectives.
Thank you, Toastmaster of the Day. Today, my project speaker, Toastmaster Carine, is going to present her speech on pathway, team collaboration. The speech objectives is to write a well-organized speech which has a purpose and deliver it effectively. The speech would be of 5 to 7 minute speech, and the additional request which has been made by Carine is to focus on the audience engagement and the eye contact. I wish my speaker all the very best. Over to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you, Ashwin. Carine is going to share a personal story. She says, despite the obstacles, don't give up your dreams or projects. Carine is a member of Toastmasters since 2019 for an English club called Paris La Défense. She has been a member of Leadership Speak since May 2023. She is currently working in French financing and banking, dedicated to security services in the marketing department. Carine's speech title is An Expecting Meeting. An expecting meeting, Carine Baptiste.
Thank you very much, Clemence, for the great introduction. Dear member, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. It was the end of the year 2019. French railway workers were on strike. This is a tradition in France. That day, I left my work at 6:30 in the evening, and I met a tourist, a woman with 4 children. She seemed a little bit lost. She asked me, "Where is the station?" I told her, "Please follow me. This is where I was going on." She was from Philippines, and she had traveled to visit her family in Switzerland and Italy. And after that, she wanted to visit Paris for 2 days before going back to Philippines. Before going back to Philippines, she had her sight fixed on visiting famous French luxury malls, Galeries Lafayette and Printemps. I was surprised and curious. Do you know that there is general strike in France, in the railway especially, and many stations and many metro stations are closed, right? She looked at me and said, "No." But she still continued in insisting she wanted to visit these famous luxury shops, because it was scheduled on a plan, and tomorrow she will be visiting another monument, Versailles Castle. Okay, let's go. When we arrived at the station, she had to buy train tickets. There were 4 machines and only 2 worked. And finally, one would accept only credit card. What a disaster! She had only cash. So I decided to help. She didn't know the French culture. And in my side, I couldn't leave them. I decided to help and support them because this is what I could do. Once we bought the train tickets, I checked on my mobile phone the time of trains. Unfortunately, we don't have train to get back to the hotels, but she could get to the shops. She was a Semilik. Asked her for the last time, do you really want to visit Galerie Lafayette and Printemps? She looked at me and stared at me and insisted, yes. Okay, let's go. Finally, I did a detour instead of go back to my home. The train arrived at the station. The train was full. We managed to go into the train. 2 stations stop to wait for. And we were packed like a sardine because it is crowded. But when I look at their face, they were smiling. They were happy because this is their dream to visit this famous shop. When we arrived at the station leading to the Printemps and Galerie Lafayette, they warmly thanked me, and we took a photo of us all together as a memory, and they went quickly inside of the shops. I checked for them the timing for the trains, and I mentioned, you have 30 minutes to visit this malls. So you need to go quickly. But you don't have a train to go directly to your hotel. They didn't care. They wanted to accomplish their dream. They couldn't stay as long as they want, but I memorized this Philippine woman. She has accomplished her dream. For my case, I didn't do that because all obstacles for me is too heavy. But for her, she learned to me, despite all obstacles, you can do it. When I walked back to my home, I remembered this song. If you don't have a dream, how are you going to make your dreams come true? Back to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Despite all obstacles, you can do it. Thank you, Carine. We move on to our last and 50th speaker is Nthati Mokhantso. Nthati is being evaluated by Lokesh Verma. Lokesh Verma, please give us Nthati's speech objectives.
Thank you, Toastmaster Clemence. So, Toastmaster Nthati, the purpose of his speech to demonstrate that he has applied the feedback received from his previous speech. And please note that the speech timing is 5 to 7 minutes. Thank you, and back to you.
Thank you, Lokesh. Growing up in rural areas of Matatele in South Africa, Nthati used sources of light at night. She has been exposed to the good, the bad, and the ugly of candles. In today's speech, Nthati symbolizes a burning candle as a symbol of being, life, light, and presence, and ironically, also as a symbol of danger. An extinguished candle symbolizes lifelessness or death. Nthati's speech title is A Candle. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Nthati. A candle, Nthati Mokhantso.
Fellow Toastmasters and guests, have you ever considered the power of a burning candle? I have. When I reminisce about my childhood, when a candle was a basic source of light energy at my grandmother's homestead. We were not allowed to study after our grandparents had gone to bed because my grandmother feared that would cause fire because candle can be dangerous. Today, I've come to share my perspective of what a burning candle symbolizes. It is a profound representation of life, of being, of resilience, of hope, of fragility, and a symbol of sorrow when life ends. In some instances, life ends prematurely, which implies that the candle's light has been extinguished or cut short. A candle in the wind. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, I am currently facing 30 candles who are posted in different parts, in different corners of the world. Each candle standing tall in the midst of darkness, illuminating light with each gentle joy and glow. A candle sharing and lighting other candles without losing its brightness. These candles are currently lighting many other candles, including the candle that I am. But their brightness remains. Let us take a pause for a moment and imagine candle in the wind. When the life of Princess Diana, the people's princess, was cut short by the wind of this world. Lady Diana was affectionately called Lady Di, was a burning candle, an epitome of hope, a candle that brought light to so many needy who had lost hope. She was such a burning candle who challenged the status quo on the position of women in royal English kingdom. Her charisma melted even the hardest of hearts. Her love, her humility changed the world forever. When the wind extinguished her light, the entire world was mourning. Tragedy has struck. All of us had our banners lowered because she had made a meaningful impact to the world. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, a candle may burn longer or for a short time. This calls for us as candles to celebrate life and understand the fragility of life by bringing hope to those who are in the brink of losing hope and be burning lights and be able to make change for the better. We are here for a purpose of brightening the corners where we are. As an aspirant speaker, an aspirant program director, it is my intention to make an impact in different people's lives. In conclusion, let us take the baton of Princess Diana in our different walks of lives and ensure that we live our lives to the fullest. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Nthati, for sharing with us the great analogy that a candle is a symbol of both life and death. We quickly move on. We're running slightly behind time. I would like Anna Smith, the timer, to share the time in the chat. And also, I'm going to ask the Zoom master to run the best effort speaker poll. As the Zoom master, as we are voting, I will quickly move on to introduce our general evaluator, who is going to run the evaluation session. Our general evaluator is Francoise. It's from the Caribbean islands of Antigua, Barbuda, and loves networking with everyone because iron sharpens iron. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome our general evaluator, Francoise Bowen.
So much. Thank you so much, Toastmaster of the day. And this is such an important section of our meeting. Our evaluators will be evaluating our speakers. And for our listeners and our viewers on YouTube, today is the final of the Toastmasters International Conference. With pressing of time, we normally have the evaluators give a brief information about what they thought, sharing their thoughts of the theme, and the theme for them today's meeting is relational leadership. But just because of something that is so important for all of us, I will eliminate sharing the thoughts of the evaluators for time purposes. But from next week, we will resume in sharing what we normally do in our meetings. So just giving it a clear. So our first evaluator, we're going to call on our first evaluator for the leadership segment. And our first evaluator is none other than Raam, who will be evaluating our leadership educational speaker, Leya.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, guests. Today you heard an amazing speech by Leya Musunga. It's a 7-minute speech that's done over 20 minutes. We stretched the pathway and she did a wonderful storytelling. And let me tell you why I said those adjectives about, or adverbs, wonderful and amazing, because I found it as such. And here's the reason why I found it as such. The 7-minute speech was extended into a 20-minute storytelling, and it had just the right elements of a storytelling. It began with an opening, and the opening was all about imagine your boss, right? And what the boss is really supposed to be doing, which is exemplifying relational leadership. She did that wonderfully. That was the opening. And then she went into the content, and the content was wonderfully laid out for us to understand and have stories in between as well as to what relational leadership is all about. She shared a real life story about a boss who had replaced a previous boss and how he was authoritarian. And out of that authoritarian way and not listening to anything or not understanding the dynamics of the organization, where the organization had come from and where he was supposed to go, he didn't understand his leadership style. And so he did what was just natural to him, which was authoritarian. And of course, we heard about when people change their leaderships, when leaders change, organizations begin to suffer because the styles change, and especially when an authoritarian comes in after a relational one, it never works out. We saw also slides in there. We saw slides with 5 components of relational leadership. We also saw the 3 tips on the slides, and the slides were just very brief, very well done, nicely done, not too much stuff on the slides. That's what I loved about that, Leya. And then you went on to the third part, which was your own story. How did you fit into that as a division director and so on? And then you concluded with a story and call to action. I love that, the way you sort of formulated the whole thing. Now, what could you have done better is simply this. When you showed us the 5 components and the 5 tips, how could an authoritarian leader change and become a relational leadership? And how could they have taken some parts of this to be able to sort of go further into learning about themselves and becoming aware? And how can we change authoritarian leaders? Because this is what we need to do. This is why we had the future of leadership, and I did show in there the hierarchical systems that we live in. And our tendency is to become authoritarian, all of us. And so how can we move away from control into relational? I love the ending as well. The conclusion was very well done. What I would, and Leya, I would give you 3 Michelin stars for your speech. Wonderful. 3 is the maximum you get in Michelin. Now, every evaluation needs to have a Zoom presence. What was your Zoom presence like? Well, let me tell you this. You were sitting, you should have stood up and moved back and forth and used the real estate in Zoom, because we're in leadership speak, which is an advanced club. So please make use of the space and stand up. That would be great. You were well lit, you were visible. I loved it. The background wasn't too distracting at all. But lastly, your voice needs more inflection, pauses, and modulation to get more emotion into it. And that's where it really draws us into your story. Very well done. Thank you so much. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster, Madam G.
Thank you so much, Raam, for that. And the tone has been set from our first evaluator. And I'm now going to call on our second evaluator, Dr. Aswati, who will be evaluating the toast. Over to you, Dr. Aswati.
Thank you so much, Madam General Evaluator. So today I'm going to evaluate the toast which is raised by distinguished Toastmaster Henna. So the purpose of this project was for the member to practice delivering a social speeches in front of the club members, and raising a toast is a kind of social speech. So here is my evaluation. DTM Henna, it was a wonderful speech, a wonderful social speech, and there were many elements which I loved in your speech. First of all, I appreciate that your speech was very much in line with the theme of the day, which is relational leadership. So that was really nice. And now coming to those elements which I loved in your speech. The first one is your Zoom presence. You had a perfect black background without any distraction, and you had subtle body movements. Your voice quality was very good, the tonality and the clarity was perfect. The only suggestion which I have here is about your eye contact. I feel your eye contact was getting distracted at times. You were looking here and there. So it would be great if you can look directly, clearly onto the camera to maintain that eye contact. So now coming to the second thing is about the relatability. Your story, the content was so relatable. You spoke about Toastmasters in the beginning, and then you spoke about the great leader, which all of us in this world, they know about Nelson Mandela. You spoke about him. Then again, you came back to the club. You spoke about leadership speak and the circle, the learning circle, the mentorship circles which we have in the club, and how we are maintaining relational leadership here. So with these examples, the only suggestion I would add here is it would be great if you could have shared some of the examples, the specific opportunities we have in Toastmasters also, which helps us to develop these kind of relational leadership, maybe being in an XCOM team or any other roles and responsibilities which we take even in our regular meetings, which helps us in developing the leadership quality. Now, like any other speech, even these social speeches should have perfect opening, body and conclusion, and that is what DTM Hannah wanted me to look at. So you had a perfect opening today. The opening was so good with the quote, and even you ended with a quote, so that was really impressive. Now coming to the body, it was full of stories, 3 different stories and takeaways. Now only suggestion which I have is towards the end, the conclusion. I felt the message was missing, a call to action was missing. Otherwise, altogether, it was a perfect social speech to DTM Hannah. So these are few suggestions, and all the best for your next speech. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Aswati, and to all our listeners and to those of us in the meeting. We are learning how we can apply even this evaluation in our personal and professional life. I will now call on our next evaluator, Mariana, who will be evaluating the Toastmaster of the day, which is known as the Master of Ceremonies. Toastmaster Mariana, is over to you.
Thank you very much, Madam G. Fellow Toastmasters. Can I have Clemence next to me so I can see his face? Thank you. Well, you never forget your first time, right? We say that, and I'm sure you will remember all the successes and challenges you learned in the past few days as getting ready for this meeting as Toastmaster of the day. Because, yeah, I know you're an advanced Toastmaster because you are here. But running a meeting of leadership speak is nothing like anything else. And you have to remember, as Toastmaster of the day, you are the conductor of this event. You have in your hand everything. You have to see over everything happening. You have to know. You have to know the how it's happening, so you understand and you expect your people who's under your direction today to do what they're supposed to do. You don't have to do the work, but you have to tell everyone what to do, what the timer has to do, what the sergeant at arms has to do, the Zoom master, and make sure that everything is in order. I liked that when I arrived to the meeting about 20 minutes earlier, before the meeting started, you were already here. Kudos for you. I didn't like that you were way too quiet, but I'm hoping and I think that you were getting ready for the meeting in the background, organizing everything. I also loved that you reached out to me a few days before the meeting, privately reminding me that, hey, you have to expect your role on the website, EasySpeak. And I loved that by the 4th speaker, you were relaxed enough to smile because at the beginning, I could see you were so stressed. You were so worrying that everything should be in order. Couple of things as suggestion. You should be, and you should ask for, from the VP of Education, to be a manager on Easy Speak. So you can understand and you can learn what that really means to organize a meeting, to put it together, to deal with people who cancel the last minute, and you have to replace people all of a sudden. And that would help you to not to have double role takers. We are a club with over 50 members. We should not have persons with two roles in one meeting. And suggestion, always have a printed agenda in front of you, so you can see what's going on and you can make changes when it comes to it, because it does happen. And one more thing to challenge you, next time when you TMOD, make sure you put it in one of your projects, because it's a big job to run a TMOD post in Leadership Speak. So find a project and put it in there. So first time is the hardest, next time will be easier, and you did a fine job. Congratulations. Back to you, Madam G.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Mariana. And now we're going to call on our first evaluator for the first speaker, Toastmaster Relational, and he will evaluate our first speaker at this meeting. Relational, over to you.
Thank you. Good day, everyone. At the end of the day, we all are storytellers. Onus on us how we will articulate our story. Thank you, Toastmaster Asif, sharing your transformation journey in Toastmaster as a president of Leadership Speak and also risk management expert in your personal domain. Such a wonderful story. What a powerful impact way to start your story. Which I like on your speech, one is content, having opening, body, and closing. These three parts you maintain perfectly. As a leader, how to inspire, that's important. Use certain things about Leadership Speak and the futures, or what is your take on Leadership Speak. Thank you for sharing your well-articulate content. Second, I like your Zoom presence. Your lighting was proper and you maintain your proper Zoom presence throughout your screen. Third thing, which I like most about your body language. When you're talking about as a leader, we face a lot of challenges. You can see your movements of your hands. And if you're talking about step-by-step journey of your leaderships as a leadership coach. So these all things you do perfectly. But as a leader, few things you can improve to becoming the next level on your leadership skill. First thing, I just try to use pregnant pause in your speech. Like, I'll just give an example. You're talking about our Leadership Speak. 16 members. Then 16 different countries, 16 different culture. Try to use that. You can practice some breathing exercise to becoming an expert on how you can use your pregnant pause during your speech. Second thing, you can use your light power, or it's all about your expressions, facial expression. I think that is important. As a leader, you should inspire millions of people. But how you can do that? You can use empower. Just use voice modulation in your tone. Then it makes a perfect to becoming. Because when you inspire someone, it requires body language with voice modulations, with proper tonality on your voice. to motivate someone else. So as a whole, I must say, your story, you are a good content on your story. Second, your Zoom presence, excellence, body language. But few things you can improve to becoming a better version of yourself. One is important parameter I'm talking about. That is your pregnant pause. Second thing, your light power or your facial expressions. You can improve that. I know that's you becoming a speaker of millions of Toastmasters can remember you. That's all from my side. Over to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you so much, Murnell. Pregnant pause. I will now call on our next evaluator, none other than Toastmaster Banket. Toastmaster Banket, our next evaluator, is over to you.
Thank you. Leaders who speak, self-directed leaders. I think leading a team is equivalent to becoming a leader. Leading a team, everyone has an experience. Being a president, being a district leader, being a president, and being a vice president. Everyone has a leader. That's what our speaker, Toastmaster Raam Lakhanpal, has shown us today. What I love your story. Especially after I heard your speech, I fall in love with Canada. I don't know Canada. I know as a country. I know only my country, India. I usually read it as only a country in my geography class. But after hearing a speech, I got to know what is Canada, how Canada won the Olympics, and what food does Canada have. And now I really want to go to Canada and eat that food. I felt you're starting Toastmaster, asking us to imagine, and then you have to go on with the different countries. What your team have done by leading him. And I love your presence in the Zoom. Your lighting, you're on straight, on the forward to the camera. Well, that's what I love. But as an evaluator, I need to give you some points, what you can do best to take the speech to the next level. First, as you asked, to look upon two aspects. One, the eye contact. Two, clear, expressive speech delivery. The second point, you're on the point, 100%. But there's some difficulty with the first point in your time. Audience engagement with eye contact. At the start of your speech, the eye contact was not on the camera. It was behind the camera. At the start, till as you started about talking your countries, the experience with the team. Till then, the eye contact was not on the camera, was behind the camera, and I can see the audience not seeing the speaker or listening to the speaker doing their own work. And that's where I feel you need to improve yourself. Second, work on stage choreography. When you're talking about different cameras, you have this much whole space in your camera. You can use your stage in different ways. One country, second, third, and then again. So that brings us, tells us you are talking about different countries. One country name, one side, other, second, third, fourth. So that's how you use the stage choreography. You was stuck on the place and your camera was down on. Third, voice modulation, pauses. When you said, Canada got gold medal, you were like, Canada got gold medal. But you have to be in that enjoying mood. Say, my country, Canada, got gold medal in Olympics. So that people should attack by saying that. And then fourth and last, smile. Smile, right? That smile on your face brings a smile on the speaker's audience face, whether they are not engaged or not. My challenge is for you, for the speaker, Raam Lakhanpal. When you're presenting the next speech, do it with a smile and do it with the right stage choreography. you will be in the next level. Over to you, Madam G.
Thank you so much for that evaluation. Definitely on point as well. Ladies, when he said eye contact, don't mean the eyelashes, getting the eyelashes in order, okay? No, not that type, not that. We now call on our next evaluator, none other than Toastmaster Sabnam, to the virtual lectern to give her evaluation.
Good evening once again. Toastmaster Sandra delivered an inspirational speech today. Throughout her speech, Toastmaster Sandra was able to take us on a journey of Toastmaster Nikita's speech preparation, as well as her journey when she went on to boarding the plane and then coming back and then standing up again and giving us the inspiration to never give up. For her evaluation, my evaluation will be divided in two parts, highlights and suggestions. For highlights, the speaker started with an anecdote that you honor people, they will honor you back. It was like a loop, a cycle. Secondly, throughout her speech, she used various phrases like birthing ideas or carrying the load of the cloth and so on and so forth. Third, the speaker described in very short Nikita's journey, like how she prepared, the physical burden of the cloth that she was carrying throughout her speech. Secondly, her excitement when she was going to the airport. Third, her, disappointment when she came back. And then how she stood up again. No, I at least achieved this much. Next, her expressions while doing so. First, when she was very excited while going to the airport. Second, in split second, her expression changed. Split second, when she wanted to show disappointment that she was not able to board the flight. Next, throughout her speech, she successfully tried to inspire Nikita in putting her incident back, and she kept moving back and forth throughout her speech with the incident, and she kept on inspiring us. This speech was inspirational because it conveyed to me that even though our protagonist was not able to reach her destination, she nonetheless reached where she is today. I think it's top 28 in the world. Now, some of my suggestions for her would be various quotes, very good quotes were used throughout the meeting, throughout the speech. And I'm a very fast writer, but I failed to write it down or, to completely understand them because they were spoken very fast. Because they are inspirational quotes, you should take some pauses and, have some expression over there. Next, her body language got restricted because she was holding paper in one hand and only one hand was expressing. Had it been both the hands expressing her speech, it would have taken her speech to a next level. Next, too much was going on at the background. For Zoom presence, you need a background that is plain. If not plain, even if something little less, catching your eye would be better. Then, what did Nikita's journey had impact on you personally? That one point, if you had added that what it did personally to you, would have given more meaning to your speech. Other than that, yes, a lot of quotes were used. Your body language was very good. Your expressions were very good. Yes, you need some pauses while giving quotes because people need to understand what you're saying and your background needs to be clear. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Sabnam, for that. And we definitely will also be putting what you've said to Toastmaster Sandra in our professional life. Our next call on Ashwini, Toastmaster Ashwini, who will be evaluating our fourth speaker.
Toastmaster Carine has actually taken us to an entire ride in her city. And I love France so much that even I want to travel with Carine, and probably if I get stuck up somewhere in the metro, I want to be a sergeant and get into the train and come back safely at home. That was his speech, which today Carine has walked us through the entire city. So there was a certain very good expressions which I could see when Carine was expressing her story when she met a Filipino woman and she had to take her for an entire city ride, and she was so passionate about going to those monuments, even if she was getting late and she was okay to miss her metro, which was the last metro in the city, but still, she convinced Carine on taking her to those monuments. I think these are the important aspects of storytelling, which Carine brought it very beautifully. So when we are evaluating a story, or when I'm evaluating a speech at a leadership speak, a lot of critical aspects has to be evaluated, and that is really very helpful to take your speech to the next level. When we started the entire speech, the speech should have started with some interesting fact about your city and how that Filipino woman came into your story. So that would have helped to establish the context, your context of the story very well. Secondly, when you brought in the character of a Filipino woman, you would have probably described her. How does she look? How tall she is, or how her eyes are, or how she speaks, which would have made us feel that yes, I think she is the one who is really wanting to get throughout the city, see those monuments, and she doesn't want to miss her last opportunity of being a tourist in your country. So I think that aspect of character building should have been enhanced a bit, to make us feel that impact of your travel with the lady. But when you concluded with a very interesting quote, which you said, "If you don't have dream, how you can make it true?" But what I felt is this is a very powerful quote. But what did it happen to make her feel, to make us feel that, what is that dream she was chasing? What is that she wanted to achieve in her life? Trying to see that monument, trying to see those specific shops, probably some past history she would have been connected with, and that's why she was so wanting to get over those locations, is something which I as a listener felt that part was missing. So chain of the entire event and the catch moment, which made her feel that, this is what I wanted to do in my life. So these are certain aspects which you need to kind of really build on to make this story more powerful, more effective. And what is a takeaway? What is a learning? So any a speech which a Toastmaster would love to listen is something which you can take away from from that entire story. So I think you need to work on that, and this would really help you to take your speech to the next level. Thank you, Carine, and over to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you so much, Ashwini. And immediately what crossed my mind when we spoke about where there's no dreams, King Solomon, the wisest man ever lived on earth, made it clear that where there is no vision, the people perish, but he that keepeth the law, happy is he. So it's so important that we also have that map before us. I will now call on our next evaluator, and our next and final evaluator is none other than Toastmaster Lokesh. Toastmaster Lokesh, over to you.
Thank you, General Evaluator, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone, especially to Toastmaster Nthati. Toastmaster Nthati, I think I'll be very honest in terms of my evaluation. I don't know whether the gap is from my side or it is for everybody, but I could not hear your speech very, very clearly. That's the reason my evaluation will not be so much content, but I will promise you to look at the recording of this particular meeting, and I'll give my evaluation, further additional evaluation, the later on after watching your speech in the recording as well. But whatever I could understand from your speech and could hear it out and could see, I must compliment for the passion you are carrying in terms of your topic, a candle, right? The passion was visible in terms of whatever you wanted to communicate through the message of candle, and how positively you have concluded your speech. And most important, which I really liked, is the title of your speech, A Candle. Again, the title was very good, which was somehow connecting what you wanted to communicate overall. But what was overall visible to me, I just want to share that you can work upon is the expression. The expression, though, from your side, I think it was coming from inside naturally. but I highly recommend you to also see the recording. As I see you're going to see your recording, I will recommend you also to have a look at the recording and to see that what kind of expression is coming out. I think the control on the expression and emotions can build on your speech on a more effective way. That's the one thing. The eye contact can be directly on the camera. In between I could see that it was going like this and little bit up, I can say. So right now I'm looking into my camera of my laptop, and I think audience can see that I'm looking at them. Looking here and on the little top can just a bit of distraction. Otherwise, I could see the passion overall in your speech. The title was really good. Rest of the feedback will follow after I'll see your recording. Thank you very much, and apologies for the incomplete evaluation here.
Thank you so much, Lokesh, for that evaluation. And I'll now call on our timer to give us the time of all of our evaluators.
Timings are put in the chat.
All right. With all the time that we have, the time that we have upon us, we want to say we had an awesome meeting today. The theme focus was about relational leadership. And before you is the best effort evaluator. Best effort evaluator is right before you. So while I'm speaking, you can go ahead and vote. And for today's meeting, as I just mentioned earlier on the theme, which is about relational leadership, all the speakers, all the evaluators, everything flowed with the theme. And I do hope that each and every one of us took away a lot of notes. We had a lot of aha moments. We definitely ensured that we're going to put it into practice. From the beginning of the meeting, before, and we're speaking about behind the scenes, everyone was ensuring that they get all the A games correct. The Toastmaster of the day, the timer, everyone, and we all fit in and ensure that we're going to flow. Where there might be, someone may have to drop out at the last minute, everyone ensured that they stick together, that we have a successful meeting today. I was your general evaluator, Francoise Bowen. And I also invite you to return to our meeting again next week, same time, same place. And you guessed it right. Yes, you guessed it right. Our Toastmaster of the day is back over to you, Clemence.
Excellent evaluation from the team that was led by our general evaluator, Francoise Bowen. Thank you very much. I'll now invite Barbara Yavis to give us the thought of the day.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, Toastmasters and guests. The relational relationship leadership model emphasizes the relationships among people when leading an organization. It values inclusion, empowerment, purposefulness, ethical behaviors, and process orientation. Inclusive leaders consider everyone's viewpoint and experiences when making decisions, while the leader ultimately makes the final decision. All perspectives are weighed carefully. Relational leaders empower others. They see the strengths and the weaknesses of each member of their team, and they work to build on these strengths and improve the weaknesses. The professional growth of others is important to a relational leader. They have a clear purpose, which they are able to communicate to others. Purposeful leaders begin with the end in mind. Everything they do leads to a common goal. Ethical behavior is an important component of relational leadership as well. This means setting a good example and always putting the values of the organization at the forefront. Finally, a relational leader values the process, encouraging reflection and collaboration. They value calculated risk-taking, knowing it is for the growth and benefit of the group. This might be a president or a speaker in a Toastmasters club. who engages the members of professional development to gain insight as to how to improve Toastmasters' learning abilities and to execute their speeches with confidence. This is definitely found in Leadership Speak Toastmasters Club. The Relational Leadership in Leadership Speak Toastmasters Club is a true example of showing professionalism by the leaders in taking the time to teach and prepare Toastmasters in conducting their roles and persuading them to do their pathways. Back over to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Barbara, for that thought of the day. We now move on. I'll ask the Zoom master to share the awards, the best effort speaker and the best evaluator. Who is our best effort speaker, Zoom master?
It is the PR person. Aswati will be doing that. If you can ask Aswati.
Oh, Aswati. Yes,
as per the agenda.
Yeah, Zoom Master, can you enable screen sharing for me?
Done. Go ahead.
Okay, our best effort speaker is Leya Musunga. Congratulations, Leya Musunga, for being the best speaker of today's meeting. Next is our best evaluator is Sabnam Saiyed. Congratulations, Sabnam, for being the best evaluator for today's meeting. Our theme tonight is highlighted the importance of building strong relationships in our leadership journey, relational leadership. And we encourage as leaders to continue to practice relational leadership so that we can take our leadership skills to a higher level and be able to collaborate and build solid relationships with our teams. And it is only here at Leadership Speak that we practice this skill of relational leadership. From me, that's it for today. I'll now hand over to our president, Mohmad Saiyed.
Well, thank you, Clemence, for driving this and steering this meeting today for success. And what about, relationship building? See, every meeting of Leadership Speak, we explore a leadership challenge. And today we explored relational leadership. Now, relational leadership is so essential because, it is necessary to create that bonding, that affection for each other, that meaning to collaborate. Otherwise, we all are going to be working in a silos, right? And then if you don't have a group of people, then there's no need for leadership, isn't it? So in a world where collaboration and communication are so crucial for success and building relations, bonding, camaraderie, being a connector is a vital trait for being a successful in either in personal or professional life. Because without that relation, in UAE, we call this term as, Vasta as well. Vasta is, whom you know and whom you can connect with and get the work done as well. Because without building this relationship, you will not be able to get the work done. So kudos to Clemence. And thank you, Leya, for sharing your valuable experience as a leader. And thank you all the speakers and evaluators and role players for contributing towards the success of our club. Now, I once again want to reiterate that, we keep growing further and further for greater heights as by more and more collaboration and connecting with each other. Now, dear guests, please stay on and for a few minutes, and we want to connect with you and know more about your experience about our club, because about your feedback will be much more valuable to us to grow and also understand how you felt about your experience at our club meeting today. So for that, I invite now Raam to address our guests. Over to you, Bram.